Howdy, and welcome to the Lost Rider podcast. It's an honor and privilege to address you in the capacity of an interviewer, reporter, and media member. Too many modern media outlets have forgone the integrity and responsibility required of credible information sources. What you will receive here are straightforward discussions with legislators, agency leaders, biologists, engineers, doctors, and countless other experts that have the answers to questions often circulated as kitchen table issues. The title Lost Rider may be thought of literally as well as in the metaphorical sense. While there has been the instance that I was momentarily a little turned around at night in a wilderness area, the idea of being a lost rider in life, well, that fits most folks at some time. These renderings are coming to you in the form of the 25-year-old radio program, The News from the Camp House. It still airs every Saturday morning at 6:30 a.m. Central Time on KULM 98.3 FM out of Columbus, Texas. The original intent was to relate outdoor topics to the general public. Immediately, it was found that all issues are relatable to the outdoors and that people are people. They all play a role and they all have a vested interest. It's this program's desire to answer common questions about how the world works, how it will operate in the future, and what's the holdup. So please listen, enjoy, and never hesitate to contact us with more questions and feedback. Good morning and welcome to this weekend's edition of News from the Camp House, a listening post of the Texas Sportsman Association. This is Herman Brune. This weekend's edition is also brought to us by the Shaw's Bend Social Club, country club for folks who don't have a country club. All right, tell you what, we got a lot of stuff we're going to pack in this weekend. We are in Kingsville, Texas, with I am at the South Texas Water Authority with Director John Marez. That's the way I pronounced it right? Okay. All right. Few things happening. We've been talking about water issues forever and ever. One of the things that we stay near and dear to our hearts because we've never got enough water. We started with this 25 years ago talking about water. And, one of the saving graces was that back then we always said we were going to keep our eye on desal and desalination. And while we were looking at the ocean, looking at the Gulf, we were always looking at it going, well, there's a lot of water out there. Why can't we get it? And it was always said that, well, the energy cost of desalination was too high. And that was the reason we weren't going to get it. Well, then later on, we also brought to our attention, what are you going to do with the discharge? And unless you know the technology for running a deep water discharge, that has come into question. Deep water discharge has certainly been done in Texas before, back in '88 with the Spring Hill Strategic Oil Reserve when they drilled that out and they did a deep water discharge on that. They figured out the technology, got it done, had the EPA there, did it for the however long it took to build that strategic oil reserve. And so we know it's been done. We know it can be done, but as far as we know right now, it has to be deep water. Now, okay, here's why we're in South Texas right now. There was a meeting here a little while back, and I think that was the subject matter that not only is there the possibility of getting seawater, there's also the possibility of desalinating brackish water, which is a whole lot less of it's easier to do. It's not as hard as desalinating seawater. And so there still have the question about the discharge. I think that's the public's, okay, how are we going to manage this? And, okay, there's a two-part question. I want to turn you loose here in just a second. There's a two-part question here because what happened to the desal plant in Brownsville. There was supposed, a few years back, there was supposed to be a desal plant in Brownsville, and they were going to reclaim some of the lower Laguna Madre with the discharge. And boy, that would be a good example if that deal worked.
Yeah, actually, I'm scheduled to get out to the Brownsville desal plant within the next week or two.
Okay.
So, of course, they're a different water system, and so I'm not familiar with all of their discharge permits or their design. But because they are seawater desal, they're a different process than ours, right? South Texas Water Authority is pursuing a brackish desal, which is, of course, going down into the ground into a particular aquifer, and then from there being able to extract that, and it's typically at a better quality, because it doesn't have as many total dissolved solids. The salinity is not as high as you would find pulling the water straight from seawater. Mm-hmm. So there's some advantages to doing the design that we're planning to do. And, of course, the discharge issue. That's been the big one. That's where a lot of the controversy has come up for us locally out of the proposed plant that we have in Driscoll. Okay. Which is about 20 miles from here. So that's what we're pursuing. That's what we're working on. And so we are trying to get all the science, all the engineering, all the environmental done to make sure that we have the answers, those questions answered for the board of directors and also for the community. So this issue kind of got up in a lot of attention before we had hoped, because we wanted to have all this already answered. Okay. So it kind of makes it look like we don't have it or we're not willing to share, but we are. But we've initiated. We're going to bring to the board of directors for them to approve a contract with one of the local universities for an environmental impact study to be conducted. That's what a lot of the local fishermen and a lot of environmentalists have asked for. And so that's one of the things that we're going to initiate and pay for ourselves. So that data is going to speak for itself, whether it's good, bad, the ugly, whatever it is. That's what's going to come from the academics, from the scientific community, right, and not from us or anyone else. So that's what we're going to wait on to help really guide us on where this discharge should go. So that's kind of how the issue came up for discharge for our project.
All right. Well, it kind of caught up to y'all pretty quick, because Corpus Christi, the Port Authority, was talking about putting a desal plant on Harbor Island and discharging in the bay. Well, everybody went ballistic. They didn't want that. Because everybody believes, and I haven't, for some reason, the Port Authority was convinced it was okay. Now, they were convinced it was okay, while nobody in the bay believed that. None of the stakeholders in the bay believe that. And again, okay, now you've got Nueces River Authority talking about putting a desal plant on Harbor Island. And last we've heard, now we're going to meet with them again pretty soon, but last we heard, they're talking about deep water discharge. All right. So now y'all come along, and people are watching. They've got their radar on, and it's a little disconcerting, because we've talked about it for 20, 25 years. Man, desal might be the answer. We want it to. We wish it was an answer. We wish it would work. We want something to work. We need something to help us out on our water needs. Now, okay, let me ask this question. Are you looking to produce residential water, some industrial water? What kind?
So the water would be mainly for residential use. So the South Texas Water Authority is a wholesale water provider. So the water that we provide to 7 systems, 4 of which are municipalities, 2 are water supply corporations that are membership owned, mm-hmm, and then 1 is a special water district. So there's 7 communities that we serve. So that water is provided to these communities, and they take as much as that they need. They know how much they need on an annual basis, pretty much more or less what they need, and so that's provided to them. But those communities are on a contract with us, and so we provide them with all that water that they need. Now, our water comes from Corpus Christi. It comes from the regional water system that City of Corpus Christi provides. It's surface water. So what we're looking at doing, what the board of directors has given me the charge to follow and to pursue, is to find a secondary water source. So that's what this whole plant is about, is finding a secondary water source for all those communities that we serve. One, to help hopefully bring down the cost of the price of water, and also it helps with drought resiliency. And the brackish desal process is environmentally, cost of electricity, and discharge typically, or there's a better process than you would find with seawater desal.
Okay.
We're not here to fight against Inner Harbor or Harbor Island. They're their own, and they have their merits. They have their pros and they have their cons. Mm-hmm. We know our project does as well. But this is to help have a secondary water source because of the drought conditions that we're in right now.
Right.
We don't want to get stuck in another drought, or as this drought continues, right? With all this rain we've gotten, we still haven't seen much improvement in the lakes. That's a big issue. But that water that we can draw below us, and it's hundreds of feet down, it's several hundred feet down. It's not in the water table. It's not what agriculture or farming would be using. So it's not going to affect our farmers or our ranchers at all. Let me state that first and foremost. That's very important that people understand that. But that water source is going to be at a level to where it's not as costly for the customers, and it's accessible, and I wouldn't say unlimited supply. The best unlimited supply probably would be seawater desal, but it's going to have a longevity of several hundred years based on the figures that we've seen so far.
All right, that's an interesting point. How are brackish aquifers replenished?
Well, it's a slow process. It's a slower process than you would find in maybe other aquifers, especially up in central Texas, right? Mm-hmm. Those replenish a little bit faster with all the floods and the tragedy we had about a month ago. That water was able to get into that aquifer, right? The Edwards Aquifer in that area. The aquifers that we deal with don't replenish as fast. They do replenish, but they don't. It has to deal with the soil. We have clay soil, of course, around here, so that's part of the problem. It's not as easy to collect, but it does recharge over time. So that's something that we can expect to happen. Now, how fast is the water used and how fast does it recharge? Those are still some of the issues that we're working through to really kind of figure out and show to the board of directors, who are the ones that decide for South Texas Water Authority, and then, of course, once again, to the community where this stands. You know, and I'm sure this is part of your questions in the future, a little bit further along, Herman, but you know, we live here too, right? We're not going to do anything. Our board president made a great speech recently where he said, "My backyard is Baffin Bay."
Yeah.
He goes, "I wouldn't do anything to my own backyard."
Right.
So we all have a vested interest here. So we ask people to just give us some time to get all the homework done, all the studies done, and we'll come back. And it's not like we're going to hide it. It's not like we're only going to share it with ourselves. This is going to be a very public process, and people will be able to see it and monitor it. People have been looking for information online. Well, there hasn't been much because this is the early stages of what we're doing. So as we get more of that information, they will be able to find more of it on our website and be able to attend meetings or at least get updates and review the minutes once the meetings are complete.
All right, I tell you what, let's take a quick break and thank the folks who let us come on here every Saturday morning. We'll be right back. Thank goodness for all the great sponsors we have here at News from the Camp House. H-E-B Food Stores. That's Stephen Tice at H-E-B. He helps me. He helps the community. He's a great man. I'm so thankful H-E-B loosened him up, lets him go around and sponsor a few things. H-E-B's got all your food needs. It's the greatest food store we got here in Columbus. Thank goodness for H-E-B. First State Bank. You go over to the First State Bank, they'll take care of all your loans, all your deposits, your savings, anything you need. Bunch of great hometown people over there. You got Celia Tobias, John Pollock. Everybody over there is looking out for you. Miss Barbara Barta. It's a great bunch of folks at the First State Bank is also sponsoring News from the Camp House. First State Bank takes care of all my business. Baumgart Agency, Susan Baumgart at the Baumgart Agencies, her and Germania. She told me to plug Germania. Germania is an insurance that she likes to everybody to know about. The Baumgart Agencies. Miss Susan and I are classmates, been classmates. She got me out of high school, sat right beside her, put us in alphabetical order where I could copy. And Susan Baumgart over at the Baumgart Agency, taking care of all your insurance needs. Lyco Realty, one of the original sponsors of News from the Camp House. Lyco Realty, the oldest real estate company in the county, and for the last 3 years voted the favorite realtor in the county. Lyco Realty, that's Miss Kimberly Johnson. That's Crockett's granddaughter. More kinfolks and classmates and great people from Colorado County. People from Colorado County helping people from Colorado County. That's great. Oh, thank goodness for all these wonderful people come to me want to be sponsors for News from the Camp House. Good morning and welcome to the second half of this week's News from the Camp House. Herman Brune. We're down here in South Texas in Kingsville at the South Texas Water Authority. We're speaking with Director John Marez, talking about their planned desal plant for brackish aquifers, water coming from a brackish aquifer. They want to desalinate it and provide municipal water. And we're talking about that. You know, there's people that are interested in the discharge. I guess that's one of the big issues. Okay, now what we were talking about earlier, you were telling me about 7 different entities that y'all provide water. Are y'all considered a state agency or private sector?
So we are a governmental entity. We are a local government. We're basically a water district, even though our name is Water Authority. Yeah. We were created by the Texas legislature back in 1979. Mm-hmm. And so that statute that developed the STWA was developed because Corpus Christi had water and was giving water, but they weren't at the time have any infrastructure that came out to Bishop or Driscoll or Banquetti or Agua Dulce or into Kingsville, city of Kingsville, or into the Ricardo area. Those are the areas that we serve. Okay. And then all the rural areas in Western Oasis that are not in a city, and all the rural areas in Clayburgh that are not in the city of Kingsville or in Ricardo. So that's where all the water lines are connected that are connected through South Texas Water Authority. So,
all right, you said you got your water from fresh water from Corpus.
Yes, sir. That's we only have one water source, and that is surface water from the city of Corpus Christi. So the lake reservoir that we have, that if they're high, then we have water. If they're low, we don't. And so when the city of Corpus Christi goes into drought contingency plans, so does the South Texas Water Authority in all of its 7 customers that it deals with.
All right, because if I remember correctly, Corpus gets water from Garwood that goes to Lake Texana, that goes to Corpus, and then it comes to y'all. Yes, so that's the tie-in with my immediate listeners in Colorado County. Okay, all right. Yeah, we'll piece this together with the LCRA a little bit. Okay, all right. Well, all right. Do you have any inclination whatsoever about managing the discharge?
We don't at this moment. So it's been stated in several different occasions. I think we have a partnership with 7 Seas Water Company. I think their owner went to the Texas Senate hearing back in the regular legislative session earlier this year and spoke about discharge going potentially into Baffin Bay. That is an option, one of several, right? So the closest, most cost-effective would be going into Petronila Creek, which eventually discharges into Baffin Bay. Mm-hmm. That would keep the water rate the lowest for those 7 customers that we mentioned and all their residents. Uh-huh. But that's only one option, right? Okay. You mentioned that, and we've mentioned that because it's the closest to where our brackish desal plant is located in connection to Petronila Creek. And so that is what could keep the costs low. There are still other low-cost options for discharge, and so we're looking at those. There could be a deep well injection. There could be other ways of disposing of it to a third party. They could reuse the byproduct and basically sell it on the market or put it into their own machines or other water needs. But
All right.
so that's those are some of the options that we have, but nothing has been finalized yet.
Okay, let me explain that a little bit. Because I do, it's like the technology that they have to put frack water back in the creek. It's the same thing. And they've had this technology for 30 years where they can take frack water, they can diminish it down, they can make it so it's okay to put it back in the creek, environmentally fine, and then you take the chlorides and the chlorine and whatever you get back out of there and you use it, you reuse it.
Absolutely. That's a great example that you're bringing up. And that's so a lot of the companies or the processes that are going to be done for discharging of any discharge, it's already been done kind of out in oil and gas. So it's not like it's new technology you have to create. So the issue is just going to come down to price and location. And I think if the board is given the chance to look at other options that are pretty close to a disposal into a Petronila Creek and then ultimately into Baffin Bay, they're probably going to go with something that doesn't disturb the creek or Baffin Bay, right? So they like I said, that we all live here, so no one wants to disturb any area that we're living in, and I think that's going to be part of what they're looking at. I don't want to speak for the board; that's a little premature, but I think they're going to look at every option, and so I think that we're trying to keep the price down on any discharge option, so we can pick the best one to where everyone can just go back on their way and not be worried about where it's going to go and be happy with the results. Yes.
Right, be happy with the results. Yes, I'll give you an example. I'll give you another example here, and it's an example. It's not a good water. When Texas Parks and Wildlife wanted to do the antler restrictions, the first thing they did was do a 3-year experiment, which you're not really in a position to do that, but they got the communities together and explained exactly how it would work and got the communities working with them and created wildlife co-ops and got everybody to doing it, got everybody on the same page, and everybody was happy, and the thing took off. And it worked. It's still working. And I think something like this, is a little bit unfortunate that people came up in arms right away concerned about it. But I think if you get people on your side in the beginning and show them what you're trying to do and show them the science and absolutely convince them that this will be managed right and you're not going to screw up nothing, that it will. Okay, here's another thing. 25 years ago, when groundwater conservation districts were being voted on, I promised my listeners I'd stay on top of this stuff because their concern was that they would get meters put on residential wells out in the country. And the legislature promised that would never, ever happen. The listeners all went, I didn't believe that. And I told them, I said, well, okay, you can either put in a conservation district or the state's going to manage your water for you. What are you going to do? And, well, they put in a conservation district. And I said, okay, now right here, I'll promise you, every time the legislature comes out of session, I'm going to go check. I'm going to make sure they keep their promise. And that's what I do. And, that's the thing. That's kind of what everybody got to do is, if you tell somebody something, then you got to let them know forever and ever that you're going to do your job.
That's right. Yeah, and there's been a lot of talk about what to do with conservation districts. Nueces County does not necessarily have one. That's where the Driscoll plant is being built. And so that's been a concern, I know, from a lot of people. So there's a lot of review and scrutiny that are being put from the community onto that issue. Mm-hmm. And, of course, we're going to comply with whatever the state tells us. And with this entire process, it's going to go through TCEQ and or the Railroad Commission. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have state authority that are going to have oversight and standards to however this water is processed, treated, and discharged. So all those things are going to be covered. So every concern that's been brought up by the community, those things are going to be addressed. And there's going to be plenty of opportunity. They can always come to a monthly board meeting. They're kind of boring, but they can come to them and learn and listen more. And then it'll also be, if this project assumes that it's moving forward, they could always go to state hearings and they can monitor and speak at those state hearings as well. But we feel that once we have the process in place, people will have heard and seen enough about it that they feel comfortable. Now, the judge in Claiborne County, where we're in right now, Judge Madrid, he appoints 5 members to our Water Authority Board. And so he's very much concerned. Him and his commissioner's court a few weeks back approved a professional oversight committee that are made up of different environmental and wildlife fishing groups that are going to be part of this group that he's created to work with us and to oversee that we're getting all the data that we said we would. And so that's a great partnership with the judge.
He's got CCA watching y'all.
Oh, he knows. Everybody knows that. Okay. Everybody, they have spoken loud and clear. And when we last had this issue brought up, the board didn't get a chance to speak because it was during public comment, right? In public comment, you can't respond unless it's on the agenda. So there was a lot of people that shared how they felt, and there was very raw emotion, and they didn't hold back. But the board has those same concerns. The judge has the same concerns. We as staff have those same concerns that we want to make sure this is done right. We don't want to kill off wildlife. We don't want to change the composition of an enclosed bay or anything like that that's been alleged. We will do our homework, and there'll be plenty of times that there will be votes by the board that the community can come and give their input. And, of course, share emails or whatever. We've gotten a lot of emails since that first meeting when this issue first came out. So we've been trying to reply to those as well. So I think as more people hear the discussion and the reasoning, most are satisfied. Others are going to watch, but they're given the benefit of the doubt. And we appreciate that. And that's all we can ask for is give us the benefit of the doubt to work through the process. And then you'll see the data as the board does. And then that board will decide either do a deep well injection that doesn't really impact anyone or dispose into the creek. Now, the creek disposal, City of Kingsville and City of Bishop have wastewater disposals that already go into that creek. And that then eventually empties into Baffin Bay. Right. So it wouldn't be something new. But I get where people are hearing that with that amount of water that it could be discharged, I think that's where the concern is because it's already being done with those wastewater systems. And, of course, it's clean, processed water, but it's still a discharge nevertheless. So it's something that we're working on, something we're studying. It's something we're involved in every single day, every single hour that we're having meetings and discussions and researching on our own and then waiting for our partners in the scientific community to go and do their research and come back and give us the results.
All right. I'll tell you, okay. No, good deal. And I do want people to go see this. I hope y'all figure out what you're going to do and that people come out and watch it work, and that we get some good results and that it can turn into a positive thing for the bays and estuaries as well as providing fresh water in South Texas.
Absolutely. And I think most people, as concerned as they have been when they hear about what the goals are is to bring down the cost of water, to give a secondary water source to the South Texas Water Authority and to make it drought resilient, almost everyone has said, oh, we don't got a problem with that. Yeah. Right? Their only concern is the discharge. And so we are working on that, and I can't give an exact estimate, but I say within the next few months we'll have some studies that will be completed, and we'll be able to come back and give those results to the community, and then they'll be able to give us the input from there.
All right, good deal. Yeah, okay, I look forward to keeping up with it. And also, I would like to talk again, see what you find when you go down to Brownsville.
Absolutely. Definitely. Yeah. I think it's next week that I'll be going over there. So I'll let you know what we find out. And it just happened. That was a separate invite. They didn't know what was going on with us, but I thought what a perfect time to get out there and go see what they're doing.
Right. That could be a good example. That could help. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this weekend's edition, News from Camp House, learned a little something. This is stuff we've been watching forever. So, This weekend's edition was also brought to us by the Shaw's Bend Social Club, country club folks who don't have a country club. Now, y'all go out, have a big weekend, have a good time, be safe, and y'all just remember, pretty much any day is sure a good day to be out in the woods.